The morning mist clung to the ancient oak trees surrounding the royal lodge like a shroud of secrecy. Inside the grand estate, Prince William paced the marble floors of his private study, his jaw clenched with determination. The weight of recent events pressed heavily on his shoulders as he stared out at the sprawling grounds that had been home to royals for generations. What was about to unfold would shake the very foundations of the monarchy and test the bonds of brotherhood in ways that no one could have imagined. In just a few hours, security cameras would capture footage that would send shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. Guards would be placed on high alert, and for the first time in royal history, one prince would give direct orders to physically prevent another prince from entering royal property. This is the story of how a family dispute escalated into a security crisis that would dominate headlines around the world and forever change the relationship between two brothers who once stood side by side at their mother's funeral. The events of that fateful day didn't happen in isolation. They were the culmination of years of tension, misunderstandings, and public controversies that had been brewing beneath the surface of royal protocol. What started as private family disagreements had spiraled into a very public war of words, leaked interviews, and competing narratives about duty, family, and the future of the crown itself. As the sun rose that morning over Windsor, neither prince could have predicted that their next encounter would require the intervention of armed security personnel and emergency protocols typically reserved for genuine threats to royal safety. This is the untold story of that day, the security alert that changed everything. The tension between Prince William and Prince Harry had been simmering for months before that dramatic morning at the Royal Lodge. What many people didn't realize was how deeply personal conflict had begun affecting official royal business and security protocols. William had been carrying the weight of his future role as king while watching his younger brother make decisions that seemed to undermine everything they had been taught about royal duty and service. The Royal Lodge, nestled in the heart of Windsor Great Park, had always been a place of refuge for the royal family. Its red brick facade and sprawling gardens had witnessed countless family gatherings, private conversations, and moments of both joy and sorrow. On this particular morning, William had arrived early to review security arrangements for upcoming royal engagements. He had requested a private meeting with the head of royal protection to discuss what he viewed as ongoing security concerns related to Harry's unpredictable public statements and appearances. Inside the ornate study, William sat across from Commander James Mitchell, the seasoned head of royal protection who had served the family for over 2 decades. The morning light filtered through heavy curtains as they reviewed incident reports and media coverage from recent weeks. William's concerns were legitimate and well documented. Harry's public interviews had revealed private family conversations, criticized working members of the royal family, and made claims about security arrangements that had put additional strain on protection services. Commander Mitchell had been briefing William on the challenges they faced when securing royal events while managing the ongoing public relations crisis. Every public appearance now required additional security measures because of increased media attention and public interest in the family drama. Protesters both supporting and opposing Harry had begun appearing at royal events, making crowd control more complex and resource-intensive. The conversation was interrupted when William's private secretary entered with an urgent message. Harry had been spotted in the vicinity of Windsor, and intelligence suggested he was planning an unannounced visit to the Royal Lodge. This information came through multiple channels. Royal Protection Services had been monitoring social media posts and paparazzi activity, and local security cameras had captured images of Harry's vehicle in the area. William felt his stomach tighten as he processed this information. There had been no communication from Harry about a visit, no coordination with security services, and no indication of what he wanted to discuss. Given the current state of their relationship and the ongoing public controversy, an unannounced visit felt more like an ambush than a family reunion. William had been working to establish clear boundaries and protocols for family interactions, especially those that might affect royal business or security arrangements. The prince stood and walked to the window, looking out at the carefully manicured gardens where he and Harry had played as children during visits to see their grandmother. Those innocent days felt like a lifetime ago. Now, every interaction between the brothers was scrutinized by media outlets around the world, analyzed by royal commentators, and dissected for signs of reconciliation or further conflict. Commander Mitchell outlined the security implications of Harry's unexpected presence. As a non-working member of the royal family, Harry's security arrangements were different from those covering William and other senior royals. His movements were less predictable, his security detail was smaller, and his public statements had created additional challenges for protection services trying to maintain confidentiality about royal security measures. William made a decision that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years earlier. He instructed Commander Mitchell to implement enhanced security protocols for the Royal Lodge and to prepare contingency plans in case Harry attempted to enter the property without prior arrangement. This wasn't about denying his brother access to royal properties, William explained, but about maintaining proper security procedures and protecting ongoing royal business from disruption. The prince picked up his secure phone and placed a call to his private secretary, asking for immediate updates on Harry's location and any intelligence about his intentions. The efficient royal staff network quickly provided additional information. Harry had indeed been seen in Windsor, and sources suggested he was traveling with minimal security support. This raised additional concerns about crowd management and paparazzi activity that might follow him to the Royal Lodge. As William continued his discussion with security personnel, he reflected on how dramatically their family dynamics had changed. There was a time when Harry's unexpected visits would have been welcomed with open arms. Now, such visits required security briefings, risk assessments, and careful consideration of potential consequences for royal operations and public relations. The irony wasn't lost on William that he was now treating his own brother as a potential security concern, but the reality of their situation demanded such precautions. Harry's public statements had revealed private family conversations, criticized royal institutions, and made claims about security arrangements that had complicated protection services' ability to do their job effectively. Trust, once freely given between brothers, now required verification and careful management. Commander Mitchell suggested implementing a standard security protocol that would require advance notice for any visits to royal properties. This wasn't unusual in itself. Similar protocols existed for other family members and had been used during periods of heightened security concerns. However, applying such protocols to Harry represented a significant shift in how the family was managing internal relationships. William agreed to the enhanced security measures while hoping they wouldn't be necessary. He still harbored hope that Harry might call ahead, arrange a proper meeting, and approach their differences in a way that respected both family bonds and royal protocols. But experience had taught him to prepare for various scenarios, including ones that might require difficult decisions about access and security. The morning continued with William reviewing other royal business while keeping one eye on security updates. His staff worked efficiently to manage the situation while maintaining normal operations at the Royal Lodge. The goal was to handle whatever developed with Harry while protecting ongoing royal business and maintaining appropriate security standards. As the hours passed, William found himself thinking about their mother's words about the importance of family unity and support. Princess Diana had always emphasized how the brothers needed to look out for each other, especially given the unique pressures they would face as members of the royal family. Those lessons felt more relevant than ever, even as current circumstances made their application increasingly complex. The prince knew that whatever happened next would likely attract significant media attention and public commentary. Royal family conflicts had always been a public interest, but the current situation was unprecedented in its visibility and complexity. Social media had amplified every disagreement, and public opinion was sharply divided about who was right and who was wrong in the ongoing family drama. William concluded his morning meetings with a clear understanding of the security arrangements in place and the protocols that would be followed if Harry arrived at the Royal Lodge. He hoped for a peaceful resolution to whatever his brother wanted to discuss, but he was prepared for more challenging scenarios. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test both family bonds and royal security procedures in ways that none of them had anticipated. The Black Range Rover appeared at the main gates of the Royal Lodge just after 11 in the morning, creating an immediate stir among the security personnel stationed at the entrance. Prince Harry sat in the passenger seat, his familiar profile visible through the tinted windows as the vehicle slowed to a stop at the first security checkpoint. The scene that unfolded over the next few minutes would become one of the most dramatic confrontations in modern royal history. Security cameras captured every moment as Harry's driver presented identification to the guards at the gate. The royal protection officers immediately recognized the prince, but their training and recent briefings meant they couldn't simply wave him through as they might have done in the past. The new security protocols implemented that morning required specific procedures to be followed, regardless of who was requesting entry to the royal property. Guard Sergeant David Thompson, a veteran of 15 years in Royal Protection Services, approached the vehicle with professional courtesy, but firm resolve. He had been personally briefed by Commander Mitchell about the enhanced security measures and understood the sensitivity of the situation. Through the partially lowered window, he informed Harry that unannounced visits to the Royal Lodge required advanced security clearance and coordination with the prince's protection detail. Harry's reaction was immediate and visible frustration. Those close to the situation would later report that he seemed genuinely surprised by the security requirements, suggesting he had expected to be admitted without question. The prince pointed out his obvious identity and his family connection to the property, arguing that such formalities were unnecessary for someone of his status and relationship to William. The conversation at the gate quickly became more heated as Harry insisted on immediate entry, while Sergeant Thompson explained the non-negotiable nature of current security protocols. The guard's radio crackled with updates from Commander Mitchell, who was monitoring the situation from inside the lodge and coordinating with William about how to proceed. The prince had been informed of Harry's arrival and was being consulted about whether to grant immediate access or maintain the security procedures. From his position inside the Royal Lodge, William watched the gate area through security monitors while weighing his options carefully. The sight of his brother arguing with security personnel at the family property was deeply uncomfortable, but William felt that giving in to pressure would undermine the security protocols they had worked to establish. He instructed Commander Mitchell to maintain current procedures while attempting to de-escalate the situation through proper diplomatic channels. Commander Mitchell contacted Harry's minimal security detail to explain the situation and explore options for resolving the standoff without creating additional public relations complications. The goal was to find a solution that respected both family relationships and necessary security measures, but Harry's team seemed as surprised by the enhanced protocols as the prince himself appeared to be. Meanwhile, Harry's frustration continued to mount as the delay stretched beyond what he considered reasonable. Sources present during the incident would later describe his growing agitation as he waited in the vehicle while security personnel followed their prescribed procedures. The prince had apparently come to discuss urgent family matters with William and viewed the security delays as unnecessary obstacles to important conversations. The situation became more complicated when photographers were spotted in the distance, drawn by reports of royal activity at Windsor. The presence of media representatives transformed what had been a private family security matter into a potentially public spectacle. Commander Mitchell immediately implemented additional crowd control measures and contacted local police for support in managing any gathering media presence. William faced a difficult decision as he watched events unfold from inside the lodge. Granting immediate access to Harry might resolve the immediate confrontation, but would undermine security protocols designed to protect royal operations and family privacy. Maintaining current security measures might escalate the situation, but would demonstrate consistent application of necessary security standards. The prince decided to send his private secretary to the gate with a message for Harry explaining the security requirements and offering to arrange a proper meeting through appropriate channels. This approach attempted to balance family relationships with security necessities while providing Harry with a face-saving option to comply with established procedures. Harry's response to this diplomatic outreach was reportedly one of increased frustration and confusion about why such formalities were being applied to his family relationships. He questioned the necessity of advance notice requirements for visits to properties where he had spent considerable time throughout his life. The emotional weight of their deteriorated relationship was evident in his reactions to what he viewed as bureaucratic obstacles to family communication. The standoff at the gate stretched for nearly 30 minutes as various parties attempted to find a resolution that would satisfy security requirements while allowing for family interaction. During this time, Harry remained in his vehicle while his security detail coordinated with Royal Protection Services about possible compromises or alternative arrangements. Commander Mitchell kept William informed of each development while managing the complex logistics of the situation. The security chief's experience in handling sensitive royal situations proved invaluable as he worked to prevent the incident from escalating into a more serious confrontation that might require law enforcement intervention or create lasting damage to family relationships. As media presence increased in the surrounding area, the pressure mounted to resolve the situation quickly and discreetly. Royal Protection Services were experienced in managing media attention, but the unique nature of this family conflict created additional challenges for controlling public narrative and preventing unauthorized photographs or recordings of the confrontation. Harry's team attempted to negotiate modified security arrangements that might allow for immediate access while satisfying William's security concerns. These discussions involved complex considerations about protection protocols, media management, and family dynamics that had never been tested in such a public and emotionally charged context. The tension reached a breaking point when Harry apparently made the decision to attempt entry to the Royal Lodge grounds despite not having received official clearance through security channels. This decision would transform an already complicated family dispute into a direct challenge to royal security procedures and William's authority over access to the property. Security personnel at the gate found themselves in the unprecedented position of potentially having to physically prevent one prince from accessing property controlled by another prince. Their training had prepared them for many scenarios, but family conflicts between senior royals presented unique challenges that required careful navigation of loyalty, duty, and established procedures. The atmosphere around the royal lodge grew increasingly tense as Harry's patience with security protocols reached its limit, and William remained committed to maintaining established security standards. What had begun as a family visit was rapidly evolving into a test of wills between brothers whose relationship had been strained by months of public disagreements and competing narratives about royal duty and family loyalty. As events reached this critical juncture, both brothers faced decisions that would have lasting consequences for their relationship and for public perception of the royal family's ability to manage internal conflicts. The world was watching, even if they didn't yet know it, as two princes prepared for a confrontation that would define their relationship for years to come. The moment that would define the entire incident came at precisely 11:47 a.m., when Prince William made the unprecedented decision to formally activate enhanced security protocols regarding his brother's access to the Royal Lodge. Standing in the main security control room, surrounded by monitors showing various angles of the property's perimeter, William delivered the command that would send shockwaves through the royal establishment and beyond. Implement Code Yellow protocols. William instructed Commander Mitchell, using the formal security designation for controlled access restrictions. Prince Harry is to be detained at the perimeter until proper clearance procedures are completed. The weight of these words hung heavy in the air as royal protection officers processed the reality that they were being ordered to potentially detain one prince on the direct orders of another. Commander Mitchell immediately understood the gravity of the situation and the precedent being set. In his decades of royal security service, he had never encountered a scenario where family members required such formal security interventions against each other. However, his training and professional obligations were clear. Direct security orders from senior royals took precedence over personal relationships or emotional considerations. The security chief activated his communication systems and began coordinating with personnel throughout the Royal Lodge grounds. All units, this is Commander Mitchell. We are implementing Code Yellow protocols for Prince Harry's vehicle at the main gate. Standard detention procedures apply until further notice. Maintain professional courtesy, but do not allow passage without direct authorization for Prince William. At the main gate, Sergeant Thompson received the formal security order through his encrypted communication device. The veteran guard understood immediately that the situation had escalated beyond normal diplomatic solutions. He approached Harry's vehicle once again, this time with backup security personnel and a formal notification of the detention order. Your Royal Highness, Sergeant Thompson addressed Harry through the vehicle window. I have received direct orders from Prince William to implement enhanced security protocols. You are being requested to remain at this location until proper security clearance can be arranged through appropriate channels. Harry's reaction was swift and intense. Sources present during the incident would later describe his immediate response as one of shock followed quickly by anger at what he perceived as a deliberate humiliation orchestrated by his brother. The prince demanded to speak directly with William and questioned the legal authority for what he viewed as an arbitrary detention on family property. The confrontation escalated as Harry attempted to exit his vehicle, prompting security personnel to implement standard crowd control procedures, while maintaining respectful language appropriate for a member of the royal family. The guards made it clear that he would not be permitted to leave the immediate gate area without proper authorization. This physical restriction transformed the incident from a family dispute into a formal security operation. From inside the Royal Lodge, William monitored the situation through multiple security cameras while consulting with his legal advisors about the unprecedented nature of the orders he had given. The prince understood that his decision to formally detain his brother would have far-reaching consequences for their relationship and for public perception of the royal family's internal dynamics. The legal implications of the situation were complex and largely untested. While William had clear authority over access to the Royal Lodge as a senior working member of the royal family, the detention of another royal family member raised questions about the limits of such authority and the appropriate procedures for resolving family conflicts that intersected with security protocols. Harry's security detail found themselves in an impossible position as they attempted to balance their protection responsibilities with respect for the security orders being implemented by Royal Protection Services. The minimal nature of Harry's current security arrangements meant his team was significantly outnumbered by the protection officers stationed at the Royal Lodge. Commander Mitchell coordinated additional security personnel to the gate area while maintaining communication with local police authorities about the developing situation. The goal was to ensure that proper security procedures were followed while preventing any escalation that might require external law enforcement intervention or create additional public relations complications. The detention order created immediate logistical challenges as media representatives continued to gather in areas surrounding the Royal Lodge property. Royal Protection Services implemented expanded perimeter security to prevent unauthorized photography or recording of the incident while managing increasing public and press interest in the developing story. William's staff worked frantically to manage communication protocols and coordinate with Buckingham Palace about the unprecedented security situation. The private secretary contacted senior palace officials to brief them on events while seeking guidance about appropriate diplomatic channels for resolving the family conflict within established royal procedures. Inside his vehicle, Harry made multiple phone calls attempting to circumvent the security restrictions through alternative channels. He contacted mutual friends, royal staff members, and family advisors seeking intervention or support for immediate access to his brother. These efforts proved unsuccessful as royal protocol required that security orders from senior royals be followed regardless of alternative pressure or influence. The psychological impact of being formally detained by his brother's security personnel was evident in Harry's increasingly agitated responses to the situation. For someone who had spent his entire life with relatively unrestricted access to royal properties and family members, the experience of being physically prevented from family interaction represented a fundamental shift in his status and relationships. Commander Mitchell maintained professional communication with all parties while internally processing the historic nature of the security operation he was overseeing. The potential for the incident to create lasting damage to royal family relationships weighed heavily on his mind as he balanced security obligations with awareness of the personal cost for both princes. As the detention extended beyond an hour, the situation attracted attention from senior government officials who monitored royal security matters as part of their constitutional responsibilities. Discreet inquiries were made about the nature of the security operation and whether additional resources or intervention might be necessary to resolve the family conflict. The media presence around Windsor continued to grow as news of unusual security activity at the Royal Lodge spread through press networks. While details of the specific incident remained confidential, the visible increase in security personnel and restricted access to the area suggested significant developments in the ongoing royal family tensions. William faced mounting pressure from various sources to resolve the situation while maintaining his position that proper security procedures must be followed regardless of family relationships. The prince's determination to establish clear boundaries and protocols reflected his broader concerns about how family conflicts were affecting royal operations and public confidence in royal institutions. The standoff represented more than just a family disagreement. It had become a test of how modern royal institutions could adapt to manage internal conflicts while maintaining security standards and public responsibilities. The outcome would establish precedents for future interactions between family members and demonstrate the practical limits of royal authority in personal relationships. As afternoon approached, both brothers remained committed to their positions while security personnel continued implementing detention protocols that had never been designed for such family circumstances. The resolution of the crisis would require either compromise from one or both parties or intervention from external authorities with the power to override the security orders that had created the unprecedented situation. The situation at the Royal Lodge had attracted the attention of the highest levels of the royal establishment within hours of Harry's detention at the security perimeter. By early afternoon, senior palace officials at Buckingham Palace found themselves managing an unprecedented crisis that threatened to undermine the monarchy's public image and create lasting constitutional questions about the limits of royal authority within family relationships. Sir Edward Young, the Queen's private secretary, received urgent briefings about the developing situation while coordinating with multiple government departments about the potential implications of one prince formally detaining another on royal property. The constitutional questions raised by the incident had no clear precedent in modern royal history, requiring careful navigation of legal authorities, family relationships, and public responsibilities. At the Royal Lodge, William continued to monitor the situation from the security control room, while receiving increasingly urgent communications from Buckingham Palace requesting immediate resolution of the family conflict. The prince maintained his position that security protocols must be followed, but palace officials expressed concern about the growing media attention and potential damage to royal reputation if the standoff continued. The legal complexities of the situation became more apparent as palace lawyers examined the authorities and procedures involved in royal family security arrangements. While William clearly had the right to control access to properties under his management, the formal detention of another royal family member raised questions about due process, family rights, and the appropriate limits of security powers. Harry's continued detention had created significant logistical challenges for royal protection services, who were now managing what amounted to a formal security operation against a member of the royal family. Commander Mitchell coordinated with additional personnel while maintaining communication with both princes about potential pathways toward resolution of the crisis. The media presence surrounding Windsor had grown substantially as news organizations detected the unusual security activity and began investigating reports of family tensions at the Royal Lodge. While specific details remained confidential, the visible increase in security personnel and restricted access suggested significant developments that warranted press attention and public interest. Palace communication staff worked to manage the growing media inquiries while developing strategies for addressing public questions about royal family relationships and security procedures. The challenge was to maintain family privacy while acknowledging legitimate public interest in the functioning of royal institutions and the resolution of constitutional questions. By mid-afternoon, the situation had reached senior government officials responsible for monitoring royal affairs and constitutional matters. Discreet consultations took place between palace representatives and government lawyers about the legal implications of the security operation and potential intervention options if the family conflict could not be resolved through internal diplomatic channels. The psychological impact of the extended detention was becoming increasingly apparent in Harry's responses to the situation. Royal protection officers reported growing frustration and emotional distress as the prince processed the reality that his brother had formally ordered his detention and showed no immediate intention of reversing those security measures. William found himself under mounting pressure from multiple sources while maintaining his determination to establish clear security boundaries. Palace officials, family friends, and royal advisors all urged him to consider alternative approaches to resolving the family conflict that might avoid the precedent of formal detention and its potential consequences for future royal relationships. The international implications of the incident began to emerge as foreign diplomatic services monitoring royal affairs reported on the unusual security situation to their respective governments. The spectacle of royal family members implementing formal security measures against each other raised questions about stability and unity within the British monarchy that had implications beyond domestic politics. Commander Mitchell received authorization to implement additional comfort measures for Harry's extended detention while maintaining security protocols. These arrangements included providing refreshments and communication access while ensuring that security requirements continued to be met according to William's orders and established royal protection procedures. The efforts to find diplomatic solutions intensified as senior royal advisors attempted to identify compromise positions that might satisfy both princes while resolving the security crisis. These discussions involved complex considerations about family relationships, security precedents, and the public implications of any resolution that might be reached. Palace officials coordinated with government constitutional experts about the broader implications of royal family members exercising formal authority over each other and the potential need for clearer guidelines about family relationships within royal institutions. The incident had exposed gaps in established procedures for managing internal royal conflicts that intersected with security responsibilities. As the afternoon progressed, the detention order remained in effect while various parties worked to identify acceptable resolution pathways. The challenge was finding an approach that would allow both princes to maintain their respective positions while ending the security crisis and preventing additional damage to royal family relationships and public confidence. The unprecedented nature of the situation required creative diplomatic approaches, as traditional family mediation methods proved inadequate for resolving conflicts that involved formal security authorities and constitutional questions. Palace officials explored various intervention options while respecting the authority that William had exercised and the legitimate concerns that had motivated his security decisions. Harry's legal representatives began examining options for challenging the detention through appropriate channels while recognizing the complex family and constitutional factors involved in the situation. The goal was to identify legal pathways for resolution that would respect both royal authorities and individual rights within the unique context of family relationships. The security operation continued to require significant resources as royal protection services maintained enhanced protocols around the Royal Lodge while managing media attention and public interest in the developing story. Commander Mitchell coordinated with local authorities about crowd control and traffic management as the incident attracted increasing public attention. William's advisors provided regular updates about the growing pressure for resolution while supporting his position that security protocols must be maintained until appropriate diplomatic solutions could be identified. The prince remained committed to establishing clear boundaries while recognizing the need to address the broader implications of the security crisis. The situation had evolved far beyond a simple family disagreement into a complex constitutional and diplomatic challenge that required intervention for the highest levels of royal and government authority. The resolution would need to address immediate security concerns while establishing precedents for future family conflicts and maintaining public confidence in royal institutions. As evening approached, the detention order remained in effect while intensive diplomatic efforts continued behind the scenes to identify acceptable compromises that might end the crisis without creating additional complications for royal family relationships or constitutional authorities. The outcome would have lasting implications for how the monarchy managed internal conflicts and exercised authority within family relationships. The resolution of the Royal Lodge crisis came as the sun began to set over Windsor, after nearly 7 hours of unprecedented tension that had tested the very foundations of royal family relationships and constitutional authority. The breakthrough came through the intervention of senior palace officials who had spent the afternoon developing a diplomatic framework that could address both princes' concerns while ending the security standoff. Sir Edward Young arrived at the Royal Lodge personally to oversee the resolution process, bringing with him explicit authority from the highest levels of the royal establishment to broker a solution that would satisfy security requirements while restoring family communication channels. His presence signaled the gravity with which palace officials viewed the constitutional and public relations implications of the ongoing crisis. The diplomatic solution involved a carefully structured protocol that allowed William to maintain his security standards while providing Harry with a pathway to access that respected his status as a member of the royal family. Under the terms negotiated by palace officials, Harry would be granted immediate access to the Royal Lodge for a private family meeting, but future visits would require advanced coordination through appropriate security and diplomatic channels. William agreed to the compromise after receiving assurances that the security protocols he had sought to establish would be formally adopted for all future family interactions involving royal properties. This represented a significant victory for his position that family relationships must operate within appropriate security and diplomatic frameworks, especially given the public nature of recent family conflicts. At approximately 6:30 p.m., Commander Mitchell received formal authorization to lift the detention order and escort Harry to the main residence for his meeting with William. The security chief personally oversaw the transition to ensure that proper protocols were followed while facilitating the family reunion that had been delayed by the day's extraordinary events. The brothers' private meeting lasted for over 2 hours and was conducted without staff presence or recording devices, reflecting the deeply personal nature of the conversations that needed to take place. While specific details of their discussion remained confidential, sources close to the situation indicated that both princes addressed the security crisis directly and discussed the broader family tensions that had led to such drastic measures. During their private conversation, William reportedly explained his position that security protocols were necessary to protect royal operations and family privacy given the current climate of media attention and public controversy surrounding family relationships. He emphasized that the detention order was not personal retaliation, but rather an application of security standards that he believed were essential for protecting royal institutions. Harry's response during the meeting was described as a mixture of understanding and continued frustration about what he viewed as unnecessary formalization of family relationships. However, he reportedly acknowledged the security concerns that had motivated William's actions and agreed to work within established protocols for future family interactions. The resolution of the immediate crisis did not eliminate the underlying tensions that had created the situation, but it did establish new frameworks for managing family conflicts within appropriate institutional channels. Both princes agreed to enhance communication procedures that would prevent similar confrontations while respecting the security requirements that William had identified as essential. Palace officials worked late into the evening to manage the media response to the day's events, while developing public communication strategies that could acknowledge the family tensions without revealing specific details about security procedures or private family conversations. The goal was to maintain appropriate transparency while protecting operational security and family privacy. The incident had immediate consequences for Royal Protection Services, who were required to develop new protocols for managing family conflicts that intersected with security responsibilities. Commander Mitchell oversaw the creation of enhanced procedures that would prevent similar crises while maintaining effective security coverage for all royal family members. In the days following the Royal Lodge incident, both princes faced intense media scrutiny and public commentary about their handling of family relationships and royal responsibilities. The visible nature of their conflict had created public discussion about the future of the monarchy and the ability of royal institutions to manage internal tensions effectively. The constitutional implications of the crisis continued to reverberate through government and legal circles as experts examined the precedents established by the detention order and its resolution. The incident had demonstrated both the extent of royal authority within family relationships and the limitations of such authority when subjected to public and institutional pressure. Harry's experience of being formally detained by his brother's security personnel had a lasting impact on his perception of his place within royal institutions and family relationships. The psychological effects of the incident influenced his subsequent decisions about family interactions and his approach to resolving ongoing conflicts with working members of the royal family. William's decision to implement formal security measures against his brother established him as someone willing to prioritize institutional responsibilities over personal relationships when he believed royal operations and security were at stake. This reputation for firm decision-making enhanced his standing among some royal observers while creating additional family tensions that would require ongoing management. The Royal Lodge itself became a symbol of the changed dynamics within the royal family, representing both the physical boundaries that now existed between family members and the institutional frameworks that governed their interactions. Future family visits would be conducted within the security protocols established by the crisis. The resolution process had required intervention from multiple levels of royal and government authority, demonstrating the complex institutional relationships that surrounded royal family conflicts. The incident had shown how personal family disagreements could rapidly escalate into constitutional questions that required formal diplomatic solutions. Media coverage of the crisis and its resolution dominated royal reporting for weeks afterward, with extensive analysis of the family relationships and institutional procedures that had been revealed by the confrontation. Public opinion remained divided about which prince had handled the situation appropriately and what the incident revealed about the future of royal family unity. The long-term consequences of the Royal Lodge crisis extended far beyond the immediate family relationships involved. The incident had established new precedents for royal authority, security procedures, and family conflict resolution that would influence royal operations for years to come. Both princes would carry the memory of that day as a defining moment in their relationship and their understanding of their respective roles within royal institutions. The crisis had tested their family bonds, their institutional loyalties, and their ability to navigate personal conflicts within public responsibilities. The Royal Lodge crisis ultimately represented a turning point in modern royal history, demonstrating how family conflicts could intersect with constitutional authority and public interest in ways that required formal diplomatic intervention. The resolution had preserved royal institutions while acknowledging the complex personal relationships that existed within them. As the months passed, the protocols and procedures established by the crisis became integrated into normal royal operations, creating lasting changes in how family members interacted with each other and with royal security services. The incident had shown that even family relationships were not exempt from the institutional requirements of modern monarchy. The story of the Royal Lodge Security Alert would be remembered as the day when royal family conflicts crossed the line into formal institutional authority, creating precedents and procedures that would influence royal operations long after the immediate crisis had been resolved. It marked the end of informal family access to royal properties and the beginning of a new era of structured family relationships within constitutional monarchy.